The Stage Door Show, celebrating the independent artist. With your host, Dave Hondell.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Stage Door Show tonight. This is Dave Hondell. Tonight, we have for the second time on the show an incredible actor, producer, and former reality star. You've seen him in the TV series Temptation Island and the star of movies such as By Any Means, Hide Her in My House, and he stars in the upcoming Lifetime movie thriller, The Man with My Husband's Face, airing this Saturday, May 20th at 8/7 Central. So welcome back to the show, Thomas Gipson. Good to see you again, Tom.
Dave, good to see you. Thank you for having me again.
Absolutely, it's great to have you back, and really excited about this Saturday because we loved your last Lifetime movie, Hide Her in My House, and another thriller coming up on this Saturday. So, what can you talk about with our listeners on that one?
Sure. So, another thriller. Very different character for those of you who have seen Hide Her in My House. First, thank you. But very different story, different character. In fact, I play two characters, Heath and Jacob. And that was just going into it. The idea of that, of playing two personalities, was a different ball game. With Hide Her in My House, it was really trying to delve into this sociopathic character that was really damaged, and my challenge with that was, how can I make this damaged character still appear charming, that he can get the lead actress to fall for him, and yet still be maniacal and dangerous, and how to balance those two parts of himself. With this film, Man with My Husband's Face, not to be confused with The Man with Two Faces, starring Mel Gibson, different movie. That was in the 90s, another good film. But this one, so when I first got the audition for this, and I saw that there was two scenes that I had to audition for, and playing two characters, I got really excited about it. The idea of doing something like that. I don't know if you've seen the show Orphan 8, where she plays like 8 characters. I think that's the dream for an actor. You get to really just dive in and play all these different versions of essentially yourself. So with that, I mean, with this film, obviously a very dialed down version of that, but playing two characters was exciting for me. And I started just having ideas and thinking about it, and sent in the audition, and ultimately ended up booking it. And when I went to shoot it, with Lifetime movies, it's a very, very quick turnaround. So you don't have a lot of prep time. It's sort of, you get the call, we're going to fly you out in like 3 days, and then principal filming starts.
Wow.
So
I didn't realize it was that quick turnaround. Wow. Yeah,
it's very, very quick. At least in my experience. And the lead actress and I, Coco Marshall, she was wonderful. We were on the same flight together, and we got to talk because my character Heath and her character, we're husband and wife. So I wanted to try to build as much rapport as we could, and we just kind of got to know each other on this 6-hour flight. And we landed. I think we had the table read the next day, and then I believe shooting started the following day.
Wow.
And we just kind of hit the ground running. And I don't want to divulge too much or give any spoilers away, but the premise, it starts with a very fragmented marriage between these two lead characters, and their marriage is on its way out. My wife, played by Coco, she's already looking towards divorce and planning getting that in motion. And it's sort of the film starts with us having a last ditch effort to try to make the marriage work. And from there, an accident happens. We're going kayaking, and I go missing. And a few weeks later, someone that looks just like me appears, also played by me, Jacob. And it becomes that's where the thriller and the mystery starts unfolding. Who is this person?
Sure.
And she's going through this sort of unraveling of not knowing what's real and what's not. And it's a thrilling ride. I think it's a lot of fun. I haven't seen it yet. I'm going to be seeing it when it
For the
airs
first
as
time?
well for the first time.
Wow,
Yeah.
okay.
So I'm excited for it. I think we did some really, we had some good work in it. And I think it's going to be good. I mean, Danny Boyle was great to work with.
Sure.
And our DP, Ryan Brown, he was phenomenal. The way his ideas with how to film it and camera placement.
Yeah.
It was something. I think it's going to be special.
I think, it's a collaborative effort for sure. And I think, it's very important, to have that relationship with the DP and the director, and the actors. And I think it's such a collaborative effort. And anybody who's not been on a movie set, it's one of the most collaborative team building things that I've ever been involved with as well. So, I think when the final product comes out, I think it just kind of shows what, if everybody does their job the right way, it comes out just, incredible. So we can't wait to see this piece of work on Saturday. But, talking about, playing two different parts, I mean, that had to have been challenging because you had to make them, I'm sure, different enough so that it looked like two different people, but obviously, you look the same. And so how did you get into that role? I mean, how did you get with such a small turnaround? How were you able to make it work like that? I mean, how were you able to kind of get in that different mindset? And did they film all the parts for one role separately from the other, or no? So you had to go back and forth.
And that would be nice if we could,
yeah,
separate like that. But unfortunately, just it's shoots are kind of generally based more by location.
Sure.
So
right.
If whatever scenes are in this place, if character A is there, we're doing character A, and character B right after. So
Wow.
It was a lot of bouncing back and forth, and which could be confusing just for call sheet purposes, people
Right.
not knowing, what am I supposed to be wearing? Which character am I playing?
Right,
so
right.
It was a lot of, everyone had to be on the same page.
Yeah.
For me, I always try to approach the work just by reading the script as many times as I can. Even if I have a lot of time, I spend that time reading
Yeah.
the script over and over. Because the more I read the script, the more I can take in the story, and I can understand what's the story that wants to be told, who my character is, and then I just deep dive more and more. And every time I reread it or reread a scene, I try to find something new.
Yeah.
And so with whether it's playing one character or two characters or eight, it's kind of the same thing. I'm just reading it as many times as I can, and then it's kind of like you just have two homework assignments. I'm doing math class and English class. I'm reading it with this character in mind, and I'm also reading it with this character in mind.
Yeah.
And I just try to ask myself a lot of questions about, why am I doing this in the scene? What do I want? What is, what does my character want to achieve overall? Why is he doing this? Why is he saying this? And then I try to play with that.
Yeah.
I don't always just go with the first answer I come up with. I try to, what's another reason I could be saying this? What's another way I could be saying this? Maybe I want something, maybe something deeper is really what I want, and I try to really dig and try to make it as layered as possible to make it just more interesting and ultimately more entertaining for people watching.
Well, you're definitely entertaining for sure. I mean, just Hide Her in My House, that was just an amazing, movie that my wife and I really enjoyed, and everybody that I know saw it, same thing. So kudos on that. You trained under Terry Knickerbocker. I mean, this a renowned, acting coach in William Esper studio. So talk about, training under Terry and how that, I guess, prepared you for your career. I mean, was that something that, I guess was helpful for you?
Oh, to say the least. More than helpful. It was necessary. I love Terry. If you're listening, love you, man. I miss you. I studied with him again, like you said, at William Esper. And when I first discovered Terry, I was reading William Esper's book, his first book. And I had been studying at Stella Adler prior, and I decided, all right, let me try this different school just because this book seems to be resonating with me. And I took a 6-week intensive course with Terry in the summer. And it just opened up an entire new world of what acting could be, and all the things that I realized I wasn't bringing out in the work I was doing at that point. And so I decided to do the entire 2-year conservatory program with Terry, and it changed my life. Terry changed my life. What I learned there, growing up, I had a very I'm not sure if I mentioned this to you, Dave, but I out of college, I started working in finance before I became an actor.
Right, correct. Yeah.
And my parents were divorced growing up, so I had a very sort of closed off personality, and I was very blocked off from just feelings or expressing my feelings and emotions.
Right.
And going to Esper, I uncovered that and broke through those barriers that I had developed over the course of my life as a form of ultimately protecting myself and defenses that we all sort of formulate, but some of us are better at lifting it, when you need it, and then when you don't need it. Yeah. And I kind of was like, it was my default all the time. And I realized I had to let that go to do the best work I can do. And Terry was instrumental in that. And that he teaches the Meisner technique, which just worked for me. It was something that I just clicked with, and it was difficult work. The 2-year conservatory was really challenging, and I had to really push myself to go to those uncomfortable places. And I think it is why I do these darker thrillers, and I feel that I'm able to do them well because I'm able to access that side of our ugly parts of our, I think it's called the shadow self is what his name escapes me at the moment. The philosopher calls the shadow self. It's the parts of ours that we don't like to expose, but with acting you get to do that, and that's the beauty of learning to study with Terry. I learned that, and now when I bring it to my work every time I have a project.
I think a lot of people that aren't even actors, you should take up acting and go to acting class because it's a safe place where you could do that, right? Not every place you can open up and be who you are, or try to be, your true self. So sometimes we always have to be on stage, I think, especially as men. But when you go to like an acting class, I think it brings out, your inner self more than you can be in a safe space and do it. And people aren't going to judge you for it.
Yeah. It almost is a version of therapy in a way.
Correct.
It's you're just, because in order to play characters and other people, you first have to fully understand yourself.
Right.
And to fully understand yourself, you have to go to those places that ultimately is what therapy is about, peeling back the layers of why we are how we are, why we do the things we do, why we feel the way we feel. And once you figure that out, and it's always an ongoing process as well, but once you have a good grasp of that, you're able to utilize that in the characters you play. And, I'm able to, like I said, so this film, for example, starts with a fragmented marriage that's just very volatile. And I was able to, growing up in that house with divorced parents, pull from my own personal experience of what that was like and what both of my parents must have been feeling for them to, have the experiences they were having that I witnessed as a child, the fighting and that, they're fine now. They get along, they're friendly, but at the time it was very vitriolic.
Yeah.
And I'm able to take that and extrapolate that into the film and just kind of let it go wild. And if there's no limitation on what the character is going to do other than what's written in the script, I'm able to kind of take my own experience, what I've seen, and just say, all right, well, what if it went to the 10th degree?
Right.
And let's see what that's like.
Have you ever been on a set? The sets that you've been on, have you ever, when you do all these thrillers and suspenseful movies and it's a real serious tone, have you ever gotten to the point where you get these long hours and you just, you start breaking up laughing? Do you ever get those where you're not supposed where you're not supposed to laugh, but you can't help it?
Oh, like in the scene?
Just any shot, any take where you have to do it like 2-3 times because you can't stop laughing.
No, not if it's not funny.
Really?
No, because I'm usually so connected.
Right.
To
your process puts you in that spot where you can't get out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it almost lingers with me. It's not a good thing. I kind of envy actors that have that switch where they can be doing this emotional,
Right.
fraught scene 1 second, and then it's like cut, and then they can just like be happy, smiling, laughing.
Right.
For me, I don't quite have that ability, and I wish I did, because it does take a toll. It is taxing, and I
Yeah.
do kind of live with it, especially if I'm playing, like, we'll use Hider in My House for an example, like that character,
Yeah.
he's in a dark place. He's the whole time he's living behind the walls because he's afraid of the world. He's
Right.
afraid of living in a world where he doesn't have the protection of his mother. So to have that kind of mentality and be so afraid to just, to live on his own,
Yeah.
I kind of had to like connect to that fear and that longing. And it just sits with me the whole time I'm shooting over, the 4 weeks. I think it was 4 weeks that we were filming that. I'm living with that. And it'd be much better if I could just turn it off. But I don't know, it's the way I am, the way I act, my process. It's sort of, I'm almost worried as if I let it go, will it be there tomorrow?
Yeah, I get what you're saying completely. I mean, it makes sense. And, I was watching Joaquin Phoenix was talking about doing the Joker, and he's the same way. I mean, he lived that role for that whole time, and it's hard to get out of that role. I mean, when you're really, invested in it, it's almost like you can't turn it off. I mean, and that's, like you said, it's hard sometimes to get out of that, but I think, it's a sign of a good actor to be able to stay in that, not break character and not crack or anything like that, because you do a lot of serious things. And so I think it's a good thing that you put yourself in that spot and you can't get out. I mean, I think it's a good thing personally.
Well, thank you.
Well, I just want to try something fun. I know that you're from Jersey, and I lived there for several years myself. I see that.
What part?
Well, I actually live in South Jersey near Philadelphia, but I also lived in Weehawken for a while, and back up by Manhattan. I worked in the city, so I commuted from either Weehawken or by Philadelphia down by Cherry Hill area. But I have a couple of things, and being from Jersey, not all these are Jersey related, but I just want to ask you, is it pork roll or Taylor ham? That's my first question.
Taylor ham.
Taylor ham?
Yeah.
So you're from the north,
Yes.
Jersey, right? Okay.
Yes.
What is your favorite city to visit?
My favorite city to visit? I mean, Manhattan.
Manhattan?
Yeah. I mean, I live in LA now, so but I try to go back to visit family on the East Coast at least 3-4 times a year. And whenever I go to Manhattan, I mean, my family's in New Jersey, but I visit Manhattan. There's just an energy there that is so unique. I can't find it anywhere else.
Second to none.
Yeah,
right?
second to none. And especially around the fall, Christmas time, November, December, I love the city at that time.
The absolute best. What's your favorite phrase?
My favorite phrase: "This too shall pass."
I love that one. That's good. Explain what a jug handle is.
Oh, it's a driving term, right?
It's a driving term, but only Jersey has jug handles. So do you know what a jug handle is?
Isn't it like a roundabout?
It kind of is, but you have to enter from the right lane. You can't take a left turn. There's no left turns. If you go in Jersey, you have to go to the right and then around. Like no state has it. Otherwise, there's like a left turn signal like every other state.
Right.
That's the one thing I couldn't figure out about Jersey. But that's what a jug handle is. Who's your hero and why?
Alive or dead?
Either.
That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, my grandfather, who just recently passed away, I admire him, and I would call him a hero. To me, he was in the military and just a strong man. He lost his leg in a motorcycle accident when he was 21, and was married to my grandmother until she passed away. I think they were married for 40 plus years.
Wow.
And I just remember, and she had emphysema at the end, and she had one of those oxygen breathing machines, and I just remember him carrying it up the steps with his one leg, and just a hardworking. He was a mechanic, hardworking man that just embodied toughness to me. So yeah, my grandfather.
It's amazing. I love to hear that. What's your favorite ice cream flavor?
Mint chocolate chip.
Love it.
And coffee. I really like coffee, but
yeah,
I'd go with mint.
And my last question is, what's your go-to meal before going to set? Or do you have one?
I don't have a go-to. It's what do they have at Crafties? You know, honestly, I try to also eat as healthy as I can when I'm working, especially if I'm like going to be shirtless in a scene or something. I don't want to be, pigging out on. Yeah, exactly. So, I also don't want to have like my stomach feeling weird when I'm working, because I want my whole attention and focus to be on the scene and what we're doing. And I don't want to have like, oh, I gotta pee, or I gotta, yeah. My stomach's growling. So I try to be very, very conscientious of what I'm eating and drinking when I'm working.
I know that you're also a producer, and I often say this, but does producing help you become a better actor because you understand the behind the scenes a little more than other people? Does that help you in front of the camera?
Yeah, I think any work you do that is part of creating the film, because like you said, it is a very collaborative effort. So anything you're doing, whether you're a gaffer or, the boom operator or directing, producing, it's gonna help, because you're gonna see it. You're gonna see filmmaking from that perspective. Whereas as an actor, you only see it from your perspective. So when we're, a lot of times if we're watching the dailies or I'm just replaying a scene, I'm looking at, my performance, but, director might be looking at the lighting, and the props person's looking at the layout of the scene. So all those things create the film, and it's good to not just look at your performance, but having knowledge about all those other things. I've been very much learning a lot about cameras and like the lens. So now I could see, if it's a 50 millimeter versus an 85 versus 35. Me now just seeing that, I kind of know, okay, this is the world I'm playing in for this take.
Yeah.
I can see I know what the frame is just by looking at what lens is on the camera. So all that knowledge that you get helps you become a better actor.
Yeah, 100%. And the last thing, we always ask for advice for our listeners, our indie artists out there that are listening that want to be actors and producers and directors. And, is there one thing that you could tell them? I know we talked about this last time you're on as well, but, what's the best advice that you can give somebody that's just coming up in this field, in this industry?
I would say respect the craft. Treat it with respect. Study, just be acting. Whether you're in a play, if it's community theater or a classroom, a Zoom class, just stay acting and be active. And also, fiscally, be conservative with your money, because it's a very up and down business. Unless you're very, very lucky, it's usually a very up and down roller coaster ride of a business. And to weather the down times, I would say be conservative during the up times. So if you have a nice job with a good paycheck, save on to that, because when there's a downtime and there's a writer's strike, for example, and work is a little slow, you're not overly stressed, and because you don't want the stress of regular everyday life to affect the work. And the work is auditioning. The work is, not just when you book the job, but all of that goes into the work. The class is part of the work. It's where you're learning. And if you're too concerned about how am I going to pay next month's bills, then you're not going to fully be able to apply yourself into the craft. And then you're doing yourself a disservice, and it just doesn't work. So be conservative, spend carefully, and craft.
Yeah. Well, we love your work, man, Tom. I just absolutely love your work. And, everybody that's listening, this coming Saturday night, May 20th at 8/7 Central, Lifetime channel, The Man with My Husband's Face, starring Thomas Gipson. And just want to make sure that everybody checks it out. And again, you're welcome on the show anytime, Tom. We would love having you on the show, and just best of luck to you in the future, and hopefully this writer's strike ends quickly, so we can all get back out there and do some work. So again, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Dave. I appreciate it. Always good to be on.